Welcome to another repair video. Today we're going to be working on an LG front load washer. We're going to be replacing the drain pump. We have an OE code. OE code means that the drain pump isn't working, isn't draining the water out. The control board recognizes that in a certain amount of time that the water has not drained out. So it throws that code. This washer's underneath a counter. So the first thing we're going to do is unplug the washer. Then we're going to take out these two screws that are on there. It has two screws and you only have to take out the bottom one. Next, we're going to slide the whole back cover backwards. This one came off pretty easy. If you're having a little trouble, just stick a screwdriver in the back here to help you and pry a little bit and it'll come out. We're going to be removing the dispenser. There's a button that says push. And it'll come right out. In order to take off the display control panel, you have two Phillips heads for the dispenser. You have 3 wire connectors, and you also have, holding the control panel, just one screw on the right side here. I need to come out. I'll do that now. Just connecting 3 connectors to the control panel display, and got my 3 screws out, one there and 2 on the dispenser. It's ready to come out. As you can see, there's clips in there, so it's all clipped on. Feels like it's going to break, but it doesn't. The hardest part is right in this area here. You could put a small screwdriver if you feel you're going to crack it or anything. But you should just be able to grab your fingers like so and just pull it out. Oh, you give you trouble right in this area. It's the tightest spot. I have a spring tool that holds on the boot and looks like this. This is not the manufacturer tool. I bought this on Amazon. Very inexpensive. I think it was like 10 bucks. Like you can see, I'm actually doing this with one hand. So we have to take the lock out, the screws. You gotta take out these 3 bolts on the top and these 3 bolts on the left side on the top. They're all Phillips screws. And then we got 2 screws down here. After taking the 2 screws out, this gray piece will come right out. You just grab it, it comes right out. You got 1 screw still holding the panel. It's a little screw right there. After removing the 6 screws on top, got the screw on the bottom. The only thing that might be holding it in is the boot. It's got to go inside. You don't hold it on the lip. And it's ready to come out. Now for the fun part. So we have to remove these 2 hoses. This is the drain hose, the outlet for the drain pump. This is the inlet hose. This is a bigger clamp. And we're going to be removing with a 10mm socket. We have 3 bolts that look like that. You got one there, one to the right, and one to the back left. You see it right there. Okay, so the tools I use is a small pair of pliers, a needle nose if I need it. I don't think I'm going to need it on this job. Sometimes you have more hoses. You might have 2 more hoses going on here. If you have a recirculation pump. This washer doesn't have it. And a 10mm socket. And I also use this to remove the 10mm bolts, the 3 of them that are in there. This is good for accessibility. So in order to take this clamp off, this one is pretty easy. You may be able to get it by hand. If not, you can use your pliers. And then what I do is I have a little Tupperware just to catch water. I like to wipe up less water. And when I take off this clamp, I'll put this hose in that Tupperware. So I'm going to do that now because I only need 2 hands to take this clamp off, because you don't want these clamps snapping back at you. They can hurt real bad. All right, let me take off that clamp and we'll go from there. So I got my 2 hoses off and I'm doing the 10mm now. They're really small, don't have a lot of thread on them, and after you just loosen them, you can get them by hand actually. So instead of this tool, you can use a ratchet. And I got one more in the back. I'm really learning how to take apart everything with one hand, showing videos. And so this drain hose, I try to get it out of my way. Put it on up there, tuck it up there. Now you're gonna have to, it's ready to come out. And there goes the other bolt. And now you have to disconnect the electrical. So the electrical has kind of got clips. It's got one clip there, one clip here, and then another clip down here. I'll show you. I'm gonna need 2 hands to disconnect the terminals. You can see how they're put in, but I don't think it matters because they're 120 volts, so it's alternating current. So you have the black wire closest to the front, and that's the way I will put it back. Now, in order to get this pump out with this bracket, you got some wires under here for the heater, so you got to be careful that you don't pull no wires or anything. But once you disconnect the drain pump, yours might have a circulation pump, 2 other wires on the other side of this pump housing over here. This one don't have it, but if you do, you can see there's a plate ready to come up and out. What you have to do is lift up on the tub a little bit, it'll give, and slowly walk out the whole pump assembly. When you went to drain your hose, if your hose wasn't draining any water, and yet you have water in it, it's a good time to change this hose right now. So the hose just goes on that hole right there. And this is how it looks, the pump housing. So we have to remove this in order to get this off, because you got one screw on there. We want to get this drain pump off. So we remove these 2 screws. Yours might have 4. There's a screw missing there. Sometimes they have 4. You got 1 in the front, 2 in the bottom, and it's all Phillips screws from here. So let me do that now. You got these 3 or 4 screws, comes right out. Just remember that the 2 feet go to the front of the pump. Remember how you took it out? You can take a picture if you like. Now, what you could do before taking this out, this only has 3 screws on here. One that holds this cover onto the pump, the white cover onto the pump, 1 screw, and you have another 2 screws. You want to put it back on just the way it was. So you could take a picture or you could take a marker. I would just recommend getting a Sharpie permanent marker and just marking it, so you will know where those screws went. I'll put a line right there. And over here, there, knowing it went there, and this screw that went here. I'm going to remove those screws now. How this cover comes off is removing that screw, and then actually you're going to use 2 hands, 1 on each end. It's got to come up and over this. Got to come up and over because it goes downward like a stairway. You got to lift it up off the stair and out. We got the cover off. Now we're taking the 2 screws out. Got them marked. So the longer screws go for the drain pump and the shorter screws go for the bracket. It's good to get your new drain pump before you take this out and know where your marks are and where they're going. I know from experience that it's going to be this one here, and on the right side it's going to be 1, 2 down. Okay, I got my 3 screws on. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm ready to put the bracket. I'm going to put it in now. Remember, you have to lift up the tub to get this in. Sometimes the feet will fall off, so you just do it nice and slow so that your feet don't fall off. You get it all in there. Okay, step 1 is before putting it in there, it's not all the way back and on, but first focus on your wire, putting your wire in those 3 clips that I just mentioned first. Plug it in. Okay, now you put it in there, line it up. Now you're ready to put your screws on. Also, before doing that, before putting it in there, make sure your drain hose that you use goes through the hole and you're putting it where it needs to be. All right, I think we're good. We got everything now. We got the 2 clamps on, got the electrical hooked up, got all your screws in, you got the pump housing plate, the 3 screws that hold it down. You're ready to put the front panel on. We got the 6 screws up on top. The only ones with the hex head go up on top. Got the little screw down on the bottom. So we're ready to put the lock back on. And these are the only stainless steel bolts, by the way. So before putting your spring on the boot, make sure it's all around the lip. I wanted to mention, if you don't have this spring tool, it makes it a lot easier. But if you don't, it's not impossible to take it out by hand. It's just a little harder. You can take it out with a screwdriver and just get behind the spring and just work it, and it'll come out easier than to put on though. So how you do it is you put halfway on, and then you'll have a needle nose pliers. And you could also use your knee technique. How I do it is grab one end, put your left hand up there and make sure that's all on. This part of the spring will be off, and then grab the loop with your needle nose pliers and just move your knee like that as you work your hand around it to get on. It is possible. Alrighty, we're gonna take the display control panel. There it goes. Then you just kind of press the top over so that it can fold over and go into the notches I showed you earlier. Putting the dispenser in, make sure you push the button down, go right in. Make sure you hook up your 3 connectors for the display control panel. So the job's all done. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you. Like and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you later. Have a wonderful day.